After 12 weeks of going through the audience research course, I have learned a lot. I have gained some new knowledge, and I have learned a whole new way of understanding how audience plays a role in the ways of how media is shaped. I'd like to say that I learned a lot about how this research works, but I learned a different side of it, which was about how audience study is viewed, how little we actually have control, and a really more pessimistic view of the media, how communication works and all that. But it is still a very interesting course nonetheless. So in this video, I want to share some of the experiences that I had and some of the things I've learned throughout this entire course. So the first thing we have to understand is that studies in research are surprisingly gender-based. If you are in quantitative research, chances are that a lot of your colleagues and a lot of your superiors and all that, all of the people above you, chances are they're going to be male. Dr. Strangelove has shown this again and again by showing Google images of all the men that you would see if you Google up something like some database research. And if you looked at more of the qualitative research methods, kind of like cultural studies, you would find more females in professors, researchers involved in the field. That is something that he has shown it again and again. And it doesn't help that there are many articles that reinforce this about how data is more concrete and more masculine in a way, while women tend to focus on the field that focus more on emotions, passion, feelings, personal experiences. I'd like to say that there's a little less bias in the world, but the facts of the reality is that's just how the world is structured. Nowadays, we've kind of moved past it. Men have become a lot more in touch with their feelings in a way. It's become a lot more accepted, but it's hard to deny that data trumps all when hard data can be used, and we still see more women on the more qualitative side. They focus more on being there, experiencing the moment at that time. Another thing that the course has taught me is that research, especially audience-based research, takes a lot of time depending on what kind of method you've decided to use. Even if you wanted to take a more direct route like case studies, it would still take time to dissect it. You'd still need to get more on the field experience where you talk to the people there, you get a little more information on the ground floor so that you get a more concrete idea of what the audience wants. That's ultimately the goal of audience research. You need to know what your audience thinks of you, your product, etc., etc. And this actually can be very useful information, both for political parties, for corporations when they want to get a little more data on what their consumers think. It can be very useful information for both them themselves and for their competitors, depending on who wants it more. If you turn out to just lose up on the race, congratulations. You've given the opportunity for one of your competitors to take some of the information that they might not have gotten from you. One of the more practical things I've learned throughout this course is that note-taking is phenomenally important. Taking notes is very, very useful regardless of what method you decided to use. Whether it is more on the field, whether it's an ethnographic study, whether you decided to just do an audience study, taking notes is very, very useful because it helps keep track of where you kind of stand, keep track of what you see. It gives a little more insight than, oh, this is what the audience responds, and therefore that's all the data I have. We as researchers can play a role when we pay attention to what the participants are doing, how they react. It's the little body languages that help give a little more data that most people probably wouldn't pay attention to. My entire experience throughout this course has been very interesting. I have definitely enjoyed doing my own audience study. I've learned a lot through that. In its own way, this entire course could be seen as a form of audience study as well. We are the unknowing participants, and we provide data as to what makes a more effective class. And it is definitely a more meta way of thinking about it, but I like to think that we have contributed to how this course should be run, as well as learning something from this course itself.